She shut the entire San Jose house down completely and took her relatives to the Panama Pacific International Exposition up in San Francisco. She lived a relatively normal private life. She just happened to have the immense wealth to indulge her architectural hobbies whenever she felt like it. Section 4. Building a Tourist Trap, the Fabrication of a Haunted Legacy. So, how exactly did this myth become so widely accepted by everybody? Well, just 9 months after Sarah passed away in 1922, the house was leased by investors, specifically John and Mamie Brown, who almost immediately turned it into a tourist attraction. They effectively weaponized that old newspaper gossip to sell admission tickets. By 1924, legendary illusionist Harry Houdini visited and allegedly even suggested the Mystery House moniker. But the real acceleration? That happened later in 1973, when a former Disneyland employee named Keith Kittle took over as general manager. He added the Winchester Rifle Museum, threw out massive billboards, and leaned super heavily into this aggressive, haunted marketing strategy. Perhaps the absolute most shocking fabrication of this entire story is her supposed obsession with the number 13. The myth states she put 13 windows, 13 bathrooms, and 13 steps absolutely everywhere. The historical reality? According to a carpenter who actually worked on the house, tour operators actively modified the home to include the number 13 long after her death. Yes, you heard that right. They literally fabricated architectural features post-mortem just to enhance the spooky marketing. The very first mention of her supposed superstition regarding the number 13 didn't even appear in print until 1929. That is 7 full years after she was already in the ground. This ongoing injustice really hits home when you read this quote from a modern tour guide recorded by author Mary Jo Ignofo. The guide said, "I feel so torn because I have to tell people untruths. Every time I go through the house and have to talk about 13s and other kooky things, my heart breaks a little for Sarah." This really grounds our explainer in the present day, doesn't it? It shows that the commercialization of this ghost story continues to completely overshadow the real, lived experience of what was an extraordinary historical figure. Which brings us to our final and perhaps most important question. Why did society find it so much easier to label an independent, wealthy woman as crazy, rather than just accept her as an architectural pioneer? Think about it. Sarah Winchester was a fiercely independent woman who managed her own massive investment portfolio, designed a brilliantly accessible home for her disability, and generously cared for her staff. Yet history painted her as a madwoman terrified of ghosts. It really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? How many other unconventional women in history have had their true genius buried beneath a profitable myth? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember, always keep questioning the stories you're told.